an ideal life partner.
She was attractive and smart and vivacious. At times, she almost seemed too perfect.
At the end of the visit, and 18 days after meeting this person for the first time, we got married.
2 marriages that become entangled in a deadly web of deception and violence.
My blood froze. It was this crazy, crazy world that I'd entered into just got a whole lot crazier.
I don't know a good way to describe their marriage other than it's just strange.
And come to one shocking end.
He said there was a shooting in the house. Someone tried to kill Mommy.
I just looked at them and I said, "Is my son here?" And they go, "Yes." And I'm like, "Is he dead?"
Love may be blind and marriage bliss, but divorce is murder. (1987). John Pittman, a high-flying medical student in Chicago, catches the eye of Tracy Richtor, a bright and beautiful radiographer.
She was attractive and smart and vivacious, and she had an ability to read people that I hadn't really ever encountered before. She also sort of had a way of knowing what you were, wanted to hear or were very interested in. And, at times she almost seemed too perfect.
And she always got good grades in school. And at that time, because her SAT test, she got one of the highest scores, I'm pretty sure, in the whole United States.
She has a 145, 150 IQ, which is very, very high IQ, very bright, very perceptive.
In 1989, the happy newlyweds move west to the mountain city of Denver, Colorado, where John throws himself into a demanding medical career.
I was in a high-powered, high-energy, high-demand residency, 120-hour work week. The residency went very well. Things were very promising.
When he meets Tracy's family, the Richtors, they give John a warm Midwestern welcome.
Very down to earth, but I like that. So we all got along just great.
We treated him like a son, no different than if he was our son. And up to that point, I mean, he was okay. And my point is, I'm not married to him. You don't all like the same people.
But after 2 years, the honeymoon is over. Tracy's career falters, and she becomes unsettled and restless.
She would get a job, then all of a sudden, I'd get some sort of story, and then she'd be doing a different job, and then there'd be a different job.
She's just as unhappy staying at home.
As she didn't really have a job. She was just around the house, and not much was getting done. She also claimed we were both big animal lovers. So she claimed she was, and I am a big animal lover. So we started acquiring pets, and which is great. But I found myself being the one taking care of them.
Psychotherapist Stacy Kaiser and forensic psychologist Brian Russell see signs of trouble emerging.
I think intellectually you can understand, I'm married to a man who works a lot of hours because he's building a career and a life for us. And I think emotionally you can still feel neglected. I see this happen with women all the time. Just because I understand that you need to work doesn't mean that I don't want your love and adoration.
If one person feels smart and intelligent and capable, and yet it's the other person who seems to be the one who's busy, the one who has the life outside the home, the one who's making the money, getting all the recognition and prestige, you can have a resentment born of that.
John's parents never really warmed to his young wife, and their opinion of her is about to plummet.
There was a major credit card fraud incident, and that was the first real sign of things to come. My parents had 2 high limit credit cards that someone got their hands on.
After thousands of dollars are spent on household items, John's parents investigate the trail of fraud. Their investigation leads to a very surprising source, Tracy.
When you take the credit card, how it was used, where it was used, who the list of suspects were, which was a very short list, it really started to look like it was her. She was adamant in her denials. I mean adamant. She basically said there is in no way was she involved with this in any way, shape, or form, and anyone who would accuse her of such, was out to get her.
No charges are filed, and the couple try to put it behind them. But the atmosphere within the family remains chilly, made worse, according to Anna, by the birth of their son.
I was out there when Bert was born, and I think the 6 weeks that I was out there, if you would put all the days together that John was home, maybe it would come out to a week. But even when he was home, he was always very distant, very much to himself. It was difficult for John to show affection, and he didn't seem to have attachments.
Whoever's at fault, the couple's arguments become longer, crueler, and more frequent.
She became difficult in a hurry. She had an explosive temper, which I had never seen before. There became a cycle where no matter what happened, all of a sudden it was my fault, and I was responsible. And you certainly shoulder your share of the blame, and maybe a little bit extra, and that's fine. But I began to really notice that she never really took responsibility for anything. It looked like she just was looking for something to complain about on a daily basis, and to create a picture of enemies, surrounding her, including me, and certainly my family. She would go to work somewhere, and then there would be some horrible incident. I remember she said that some boss's son sexually harassed her and, was accusing her of all sorts of things. So there would always be some sort of blow up, some big incident.
As the tension escalates, Tracy's temper takes a dramatic and violent turn.
It was, again, something really minor. I think my shoes were out of place or something really tiny. And she just absolutely exploded. And it was not like anything I'd ever seen. It was almost like an animal. And she turned to me and said, you're never going to leave this house alive. She comes out of the bedroom waving a gun. Now, I knew we had a gun, but I didn't know that's what she was getting. But once I saw it, I basically dove out the door as soon as I saw that. I heard the gun go off. And she appeared at the front door and was super apologetic, and I'm so sorry. And, all of a sudden, that entire mood and rage was gone, just gone.
John calls the police, but Tracy insists she had no intention of shooting him.
As Tracy was charming, very passive, and very apologetic, she then explained to me that it was a suicide attempt, that she wanted to kill herself. Which, she shot in the air, and I didn't see what happened. I did not see her physically shoot the gun. It was possible.
She was shot, she brought the gun down, didn't realize it was loaded, and it went off. I find the claims that John would say she tried to harm him funny, because at the time, never once did he ever accuse her of trying to harm him. Never once.
Stacy Kaiser and Dr. Brian Russell see a marriage in serious trouble.
The discharge of the gun maybe was accidental at that point, but the propensity for her to create a risk for violence, at the very least, should have been a giant red flag waving all over the place in front of him.
They aren't really talking about their problems. They're just busy living their lives. And I think it really made her escalate to a point of almost going crazy.
After the gun incident, Tracy is charged with discharging a weapon. She's forced to undergo 6 months of psychological counseling. But the couple is determined to repair the damage. John gets a job back in Chicago, and they begin preparations for the move.
We sold our house, and all of our pets were supposed to be sent to Chicago. But she called me up one day in this panic and said, oh my gosh, something terrible has happened, they're gone. She made this big story and very emotional and very convincing that, she had taken them to a company that said they'd ship them, but it turns out it was some front for some lab somewhere and they're gone now, which I thought was bizarre. At that point, I realized something is completely wrong, that there is something wrong here.
Convinced Tracy is lying, John seeks the advice of a private investigator.
I started telling him about the pets, and he keyed in on that immediately and said, there's a problem. And then he started asking me questions, one after the other. And I was like, yeah. He says, is this true? And I was like, yeah. Is this happening? Yeah. And he just sort of went down. It was like he had a checklist. He said, the person that can just throw away that many, animals that you're killing yourself taking care of, tells you something.
As the interview continues, John remembers another suspicious incident.
She had asked me multiple times to increase my life insurance, and I was like, well, why? I'm just a resident. I mean, it's not like, we have big assets to protect or something like that. But she really was persistent, really, really constantly badgered me about that, and I didn't do it.
John's fears proved to be justified.
He concluded the interview and he said, yeah, you definitely need, you need to hire somebody because your life's in danger.
John Pittman and Tracy Richtor had so much potential. But the rosy glow of newlywed love has dimmed, leaving violence, fear, and paranoia. By 1992, John has hired an investigator to unravel what he believes is a plot against his life.
What the investigator explained to me was that, number one, what she's going to try to do is get you alone where she knows you're alone and you're in private. And that's when it's going to happen, because she's not going to kill you. She's going to have someone else do it.
I think that John did the right thing by hiring a private investigator. That said, if you reach a point in a relationship where you think you need to hire an investigator, then I think you have to really look at whether or not you should be in that relationship.
As John and Tracy prepare to move back east to Chicago, the investigator continues his surveillance.
She called me and said, hey, let's meet at our apartment, and then we'll go get some dinner. I said, okay, and I as soon as I got off the phone, Glenn, the investigator, called, and he said, something's going on. And I said, well, why do you say that? And he said, did she just call you? Because you could see her on the cell phone. He said, what did she say? And I explained, and he said, well, you got a real problem. And I said, why is that? He said, well, your apartment is due east, and she is headed straight west as fast as she can go. And he said, whatever you do not go to your apartment, and you need to go to a public place right now. Sure enough, she called a few minutes later and said, oh, I'm at the apartment. Where are you? She wasn't at the apartment at all. She was up in the mountains at that point.
John never discovers whether there really was a hitman lying in wait. But his fears are heightened when the investigator reports that Tracy is associating with some very shady characters.
He said they're living under assumed names. He said the vehicles they drove were registered to other people. She spent 7 different nights with 4 different males, something like that. So this obviously wasn't an affair. There's something else going on here completely. These are people you don't want to be fooling around with. So with that, I, was very thankful that I had gotten out of there alive. I didn't need any more convincing at that point. That was pretty obvious to me that she really had a problem.
4 years into their marriage, in fear for his life, John moves out of the family home, leaving his wife and 2-year-old son. Initially, Tracy refuses to accept that the marriage is over.
She kept calling me, wanting to reconcile and all this, and I just didn't want anything to do with it. I just didn't even want to think about it at that point.
But 4 years later, with the divorce finalized, Tracy does move on in a dramatic way. By 1996, she is swept up in a whirlwind internet romance with Australian entrepreneur Michael Roberts.
Wasn't particularly interested at the beginning, but there was a little bit of backwards and forwards, mainly with email. I mean, she was beautiful, she was articulate, she was very engaging, socially talented, and everybody loved her. So it, signed me up. I was hooked.
Tracy agrees to fly to Australia and meet Michael in person. Tracy's mother, Anna, is alarmed at the prospect.
Here you're going to a different country, you don't know this person, are you sure this is what you want to do? But she wanted to go out there. He talked her into coming out there. And Michael can be very persuasive.
Tracy came to Australia, and well, I proposed. And at the end of the visit, and 18 days after meeting this person, for the first time, we got married.
Just a few months later, Michael moves to Chicago. He quickly discovers that his new bride has plenty of baggage from her previous marriage. Tracy rages against her ex, John Pittman, who is fighting to get custody of their young son.
Tracy asserted that he was a narcissist, that he cared only about money, about himself, about power and prestige.
In the years following the separation, John and Tracy's custody battle has become increasingly hostile.
So next thing I know, I'm suddenly being accused of everything under the sun, of being this terrible husband and, you know, have multiple affairs and all these things that she looked like she had done.
She was just having a lot of problems even afterwards with visitation with him. And like he would take him and wouldn't bring him back when he was supposed to, and at one time he abducted him. And so there was a lot of hard feelings, and I think that was what really put the wedge between them.
Our son started showing up, and he's only 3 years old at the time, with very strange marks on him, on his face, on his body, that, you know, kids fall and they get bruised, and, you know, that stuff happens. But these look strange to me. And I started asking him about it, and at first he really wouldn't say much about it, but then he started telling me that his mother had hit him, which was a real shocker to me. That was a shocker. I did not see her ever being violent towards her child, and I didn't expect that.
Tracy makes a startling accusation that throws the custody proceedings into chaos.
We walk into court, filing a motion, you know, all these things, and they turn around, their attorney says, well, we have physical evidence that he's been sexually molested and that his father is the responsible party. And I was in shock. I was stunned. All of a sudden, flyers started appearing on all the cars around the hospital, naming me as a child molester, and they were all putting on the windows of the cars in the parking lot right across from my apartment.
John denies everything and fights Tracy's accusations tooth and nail, but Michael believes her and stands loyally by her side.
I adopted the battle as my own. My time, my money, my resources, my emotions. I put a big hedge around the family to protect them from this monster, Dr. Pittman.
The custody battle is not Tracy's only disturbing legal dispute. She tells Michael she's also suing her dentist, a Dr. Laspiza, for an incident during which she says she was drugged and sexually assaulted.
She said she woke up and to find her dress around her waist, and that he was fondling her breasts and masturbating, and that she had red high-heel shoes that were far too small for her feet on her feet. And that was the story. And I'm like, oh man, what do I do with this? Give me my normal life back. But of course, she's my wife and somebody's raped her. So I was, you know, the fangs came out again, and I had a new battle to fight.
Even though she's suing for damages, Tracy has not gone to the police. And bizarrely, she's waited several months before telling Michael about the incident.
I felt pretty dishonored to be left in the dark by that. It's like, if somebody sexually assaults you and it's not your fault, why wouldn't you tell me?
Tracy's supposedly a victim over and over and over and over again. It seems like every man who comes into Tracy's life has abused her, or abused her children, or abused both, mistreated her in some way. Okay, this is either the most unlucky human being in the history of the world in front of me right now, or this is a liar in front of me right now.
You're stressed out and I don't...
Just like his predecessor, Michael is shocked by Tracy's hair-trigger temper.
When Tracy wanted to go out for hamburgers for dinner for the 4th time in a row, I said, can we have something healthy? And She took that as a personal affront. She just turned into a monster. She literally turned in front of 2 lanes of traffic on our side and then 4 lanes of traffic on the other side, wheels spinning, to go somewhere else. And from that point on, I was hypervigilant.
And Michael isn't exempt from Tracy's colorful perception of reality. She complains that he's both neglectful and overly controlling.
He was very possessive. When she would come over, because she'd say, oh, he's playing video games downstairs and he's been down there for 3 hours. So she says, I got lonely, so I came over. She would be in the house 5 minutes and he'd be calling, when are you coming home? When are you coming home? Wherever she was, she couldn't go anywhere.
My relationship with Tracy was acrimonious. It was dysfunctional. It was debilitating. I was always looking for something that would change Tracy or change me, because of course I blamed myself for a lot as well. I didn't understand why, but it was all my fault. And the Richtor family now make that very clear that it's all my fault now too, so.
Tracy has people who adamantly defend her. And not only does she paint herself to be the victim, but she creates elaborate stories about how other people have hurt her, and she's just been this sweet, innocent person in the mix.
The trust in this relationship is rapidly fading, especially when Michael suspects infidelity.
One thing that she claimed before we even met the first time was that she was a model for Black Velvet whiskey, and that she would do these modeling gigs and it was always in a short black velvet dress, but never brought a paycheck for it, and sometimes would come home sooner than the trip to wherever she was going would have taken and have showers when she comes home.
Suspecting affairs, Michael tries to fix the problem by arranging for couples counseling.
But I thought all the fault was mine, because Tracy and her parents would tell me that was the case. She would accuse me with counselors of certain things, and I would admit them just to show, just because if I didn't, of course, that's denial. And I just wanted to try and break through. It was a very, very strange time.
If this marriage is to survive, he and Tracy need a fresh start. In 1998, the couple decides to leave Chicago and start again in a small Iowa town called Early.
It was pretty much, or throw a dart at a map. That's how we came to be in Early, Iowa, unfortunately, for the people of Early, Iowa.
By the year 2000, they have 2 children together, giving Tracy's son a new brother and sister. Michael's business is flourishing, and the family seems content.
The move from Chicago to Early was a breath of fresh air for me. There was just so many stresses in my life, and it was away from what I thought to be unhealthy influences.
But his optimism quickly fades. The family is about to be caught up in an inexplicable tragedy.
He said there was a shooting in the house. Someone tried to kill Mommy.
Tracy Richtor and Michael Roberts are proving to be popular in small-town Iowa. Neighbors are unaware of their checkered history. Tracy's ongoing custody battles with her first husband, John, the sexual assault claim against a dentist, and her alleged affairs in Chicago. Mona Weedy, a local real estate agent, has no idea that her life will be tragically transformed by her new neighbors.
They seemed very, very friendly. You know, they were just, very pleasant people, outgoing, kind, considerate. They just seemed like really nice people when they moved to the community.
The couple's lavish spending makes a considerable impression.
It was just kind of like one thing after another. They were always fixing up their big Victorian house, and then they got a camper, and then they kind of remodeled their camper, and then they got a brand new camper and kind of showed it off and bragged about it. And pretty soon they got an acreage where they had their Arabian horses, put up their little white picket fence, and they were just always spending money.
Mona takes a job working for Michael's internet business. The marital tension is impossible to ignore.
They would always, be talking about the other. Michael would say, I love Tracy, but... And then Tracy would be in a conversation with me and she'd say, well, I really love Michael, but... And I'm going, okay.
Ever the Good Samaritan, Michael offers to help Mona's troubled and unemployed teenage son, Dustin.
Michael told me, well, how about if I just kind of take Dustin under my wing and, we can invite him to do some stuff with us. And I'm like, great, wonderful. I mean, that would really be nice. They just kind of went out and rode around and talked a little bit.
It's not long before Mona sees the full extent of their increasingly dysfunctional relationship. One day, Tracy discovers that a bad business deal has cost them thousands of dollars.
And Tracy comes storming in the back door. She was just stomping and rampaging and cursing and yelling at Michael. And Michael looked at me and he says, I'm gonna have to excuse you. I'm gonna ask you to go home now. And I said, no problem, not my business. So I just got up and gathered my things and I left. Well, the next day, Michael had called and told me that he had spent the night in jail. And I'm like, what?
She started literally kicking her boots through both the drywall on both sides. It would come right through. And she was doing this right over a 220 volt heater. So I put my arms around her to pull her back because I actually thought she was going to electrocute herself. I didn't throw her to the floor. I didn't drop her to the floor. I actually laid her down. And then I stepped back because she was hurting me.
An hour later, local police receive a call from Tracy and Michael's home.
And then red and blue lights outside. And that was it. Police officers, guns drawn. I came to the front door. So, what's up, guys? I said, put the child down, put the child down. I was taken away.
Very much like what happened with John, where there was this explosion of anger. She starts going crazy. She's kicking the wall. She seems to be seeing red. He's having a hard time getting her to focus. This is definitely a pattern.
Meanwhile, Tracy's ex-husband, John Pittman, is pressing his case for custody of their son.
She hadn't behaved well as a co-parent at that point, and she was going to have problems in the Illinois court. That was number one. She had made a second abuse allegation that had failed, and obviously things were falling apart at home with her and Michael because they'd gotten into a fight, and he ended up in jail.
Custody disputes, allegations of abuse, and a sexual assault case should provide enough drama for any married couple. But what happens next turns this drama into a tragedy.
I was supposed to contact Tracy about some work that she had for Dustin. She goes, oh, we've just got a whole bunch of copies for him to make. She said, just send him down in the next day or two. And I'm like, okay.
Later that day, Mona receives a horrifying telephone call.
My nephew called me on my cell phone and he had told me something really bad had happened at my friend's house down the street. And the house is all taped off and, there was a fatality, but he goes, I don't know who. And I just personally thought Michael had shot Tracy or Tracy had shot Michael. And my husband goes, I think Dustin's car is at the Roberts. I'm just like, I want to see my son. I want to see my son. And they're like, you can't. You need to go home.
Tracy's mother, Anna, hears the news from her 11-year-old grandson.
At first he was calm and he goes, Grandma? And I said, yeah. He said there was a shooting in the house. Someone tried to kill Mommy.
2 men had broken in, tried to strangle Tracy. She'd managed to get a gun and kill one, and the other got away.
December 2001. The Roberts family home in Early, Iowa is a scene of turmoil and tragedy. According to Tracy, who was at home with the kids, 2 men entered the house and attacked her violently. Tracy shoots one of them dead, and the other escapes. The dead man turns out to be a familiar face at the Roberts home, Dustin Weedy.
I just looked at them and I said, "Is my son here?" And they go, "Yes." And I'm like, "Is he dead?" And they go, "Yes." It was just like, you got to be kidding me.
My blood froze. It was this crazy world that I'd entered into just got a whole lot crazier.
Family and investigators try to piece together this horrific chain of events.
She heard someone coming downstairs, and she thought it was Michael coming home early.
Saw 2 men coming up the stairs, didn't recognize them.
She says, "I just turned with the baby, and I start running towards the bedroom."
Ran to the boys' room, handed my daughter to one of the boys, was pulled back by a ponytail, closed the door while being pulled back, was strangled, fell unconscious.
Tracy says the attackers tried to strangle her with pantyhose.
From what I understand, when Tracy woke up, she pushed herself back, and they hit the wall, and she got away.
She got up, ran to the room, got underneath the bed, was able to get a gun out.
And then she just laid there between the bed and the wall and just started firing in the direction. And then she heard running down the stairs.
When the police arrive, they find Mona's son, Dustin, dead in a pool of blood. The second intruder, whose identity is unknown, has apparently escaped. In the days following, Mona Weedy tries to understand this devastating tragedy.
None of it made sense. And then as the police are starting to ask us questions, I would ask questions. Well, was the house broke into? No. I'm like, my son parked right in front of their house under their security light. Did he have any weapons? No. Did he have a mask? No. Did he have gloves on? No. And there was no forceful entry. But he went there to rob him. I'm like, that don't make any sense.
It also doesn't make much sense to the police.
The story seemed bizarre. There didn't really seem to be a motive for the 2 men to be in the house. They decided to maybe go in the house and steal some guns or steal some jewelry or maybe even attack Tracy sexually. But the problem was every kind of corner that they turned led to a dead end. Dustin didn't have any friends. Dustin didn't really want anything from the Roberts other than to be their friends.
Tracy's not short on enemies. Could one of them have hired or persuaded Dustin to invade the Roberts family home? Everyone's got a theory. Michael's first thought is that the dentist, Dr. Laspiza, who allegedly drugged and sexually assaulted his wife, is involved.
3 days before, we were in Chicago. We were ready to go to trial with this guy, a jury trial with this guy, for the alleged rape. I said, you have to look for an Illinois number plate. It's got to be. I just knew it was Laspiza.
Anna suspects Michael. She feels he reacted strangely on the day of the shooting.
He was so cold. I mean, the look on his face, his eyes, I mean, it was scary almost to the point. And he didn't really ask any question.
Tracy points to the acrimonious custody dispute with her ex-husband, John.
And every time I would demonstrate how Dr. Laspiza was the obvious suspect in this, she would shoot it down and would bring it back to Dr. Pittman.
According to Anna, Tracy is desperate to find out the motives behind the attack.
She just couldn't figure out why, and all she kept asking was why. She said, all I want to do is find out why.
Mona does not believe for a minute that her son Dustin was killed in self-defense.
We didn't know what happened or why or how. We really thought that, you know, Dustin walked in on something, seen or learned something he wasn't supposed to, and they had to kill him. And then we were saying they, meaning Michael and Tracy. The thought did come up, you know, was Tracy trying to seduce my son, and Michael came home and caught it and shot him and killed him. But, you know, I seriously, in the beginning, thought Michael was using Tracy and making her come up with this story, and, you know, she's this heroic mother that's saving her children. Tracy would always talk about how infatuated Michael is with guns, and they had a lot of guns, 60, I don't know, a lot of guns. And I'd see them laying around periodically, and they were big guns. They weren't just little guns. They were all kinds of shapes and sizes, and I was kind of like, those are scary. You know, and that was another reason why, you know, you kind of thought Michael did it.
Privately, Michael also has grave doubts about Tracy's account of the killing.
It was a mess. There was blood, brain matter, bone everywhere. And it just stunk. The first thing I did was looked at the floor, and there was 3 bullet holes in a very tight group that I think any marksman would be proud of.
He finds it hard to believe that pantyhose were conveniently available to be used as a murder weapon.
The weapon was found on the banister, which was her pantyhose, which wasn't where pantyhose were left. She had those little dryer bags for her lingerie, and I prohibited anything to be dried on that banister. Lots of very strange details that didn't fit in a practical way.
But in public, Michael backs Tracy up 100%.
I was her champion and defender after that. When people would question motives, question evidence and so forth, I would always be able to present it in a way that puts her in the most favorable light.
And Michael was bragging about it afterwards. Oh, don't mess with the mother and her kids, you know, and that. And he was going around, you know, patting her on the back and telling her what a great person she was and how she saved her children.
Amidst the fear and suspicion, the residents of Early, Iowa are unaware that police have stumbled on a crucial piece of evidence, a notebook.
The notebook was the centerpiece of the case, the notebook that was found in Dustin Wheaty's car.
Filled with Dustin's sloppy handwriting, the notebook backs up Tracy's theory that her ex-husband is involved, and the police believe the notebook is genuine. Dustin writes that he was hired as a hitman by a mysterious fellow named JP, Dr. John Pittman. It reads, JP wants me to get or force his ex, TR, to kill her son Bert and then commit suicide. And if that plan fails, plan B is to make it appear as though TR had committed the murder of her son and then committed suicide. It is damning evidence. Tracy's first husband becomes the primary suspect. But meanwhile, a deadly plot is taking shape that will put her second husband in grave danger.
I took her back 3 times, and then in March she tried to kill me.
Dustin Wheaty has been shot dead by Tracy Richtor in an apparent act of self-defense. Dustin's handwritten notebook suggests that Tracy's first husband, Dr. John Pittman, is involved. But lead investigator Trent Villada has some doubts.
I still have yet to find anyone to believe that a nationally recognized plastic surgeon would have decided to hire Dustin Wheaty as an assassin for Tracy. That it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that they would know Dustin. It doesn't make any sense that if they wanted Tracy to die, that they would ask Dustin to do it.
I remember hearing something from someone that I was being implicated in, and I thought, well, you know, how ridiculous is that? But, you know, what else is new?
Dustin's mother, Mona Wheaty, refuses to believe he wrote the journal of his own free will.
They asked me if my son journaled, and I'm like, no. I said, not Dustin, he hates to write. We could barely get him to do his schoolwork, let alone for just Dustin to journal.
Investigators begin to wonder if Tracy forced Dustin to write in the notebook in an attempt to set up her ex-husband.
She was going through another custody dispute with John Pittman, and John Pittman was the guy she hated most in the world. And there's no court in the world that's going to give custody to a guy that's accused of a murder for hire.
The notebook is kept secret from the public, the press, and all the potential suspects. Police believe that anyone who has knowledge of the journal could be complicit in the death of Dustin Weedy.
The investigators, they were waiting to see who was going to come forward and start talking about the notebook.
Meanwhile, Tracy and Michael's marriage, already on the rocks, is held together by the slender thread of the Dustin Weedy shooting.
It gave me a passion, it gave me something to focus on, and allowed me to make excuses for Tracy's behavior. I thought that there was going to be follow-up attacks because I still thought that Pittman or Lespiza or somebody's involved, so I'm hyper-vigilant. I was living in a war zone.
Tracy's obsession with John Pittman and the custody dispute continues. And Michael, well, he's about to get a real wake-up call.
I'd caught Tracy in another affair, late 2003, early 2004, and I took her back 3 times. And then in March, she tried to kill me.
He now realizes that Tracy was trying to drug him with sedatives in order to kill him.
You have to understand that I was under a systematic drugging campaign. Best I can estimate 2, maybe 3 weeks. I mean, I was in some sort of narcotic psychosis, and I went to sleep in the car, but I didn't that she'd started the engine and was trying to kill me with carbon monoxide.
I don't know a good way to describe their marriage or what went on in that house other than it's just strange.
One night, was sort of semi-conscious. I mean, I was there. I can remember everything, but there was no resistance to anything. And she rolled me up in a sheet, big safety pins, pinned me, tied me up like a cocoon, sat on top of me and put a plastic bag over my head. So I had no oxygen for close to 10 minutes, by my best estimates. I was just stuck, and I didn't think I had a choice. I didn't realize, because you put a frog in cold water and start boiling it, the frog will never try jumping out, it'll boil to death. That was me.
He saw these things, it was getting hotter and hotter, and he just acclimated and justified and explained. And then the next thing he knew, boom, there was an explosion.
What can happen sometimes is that a person who is inclined to give another a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth chance can end up enabling that person to be out there endangering people much longer than they should.
When Michael finally does go to the police, he can't persuade them his life is in danger.
I'm the guy, It's usually the guys that do the abuse.
Fearing for his life, Tracy's second husband finally jumps out of the boiling water. He changes the locks and files for divorce. Michael calls John Pittman, a fellow survivor of a Tracy Richtor marriage.
And my first comment with him was, "Let me guess, you're afraid for your life." And he said, "Yes, very much so." And I said, "Well, that's probably a healthy thing to be."
With the second marriage over, Tracy tries to turn suspicion away from John Pittman and towards Michael.
Michael Roberts was never a suspect in Tracy's eyes, right up until the day they got divorced. Whoever she hated the most was responsible for the attack.
In the years following, the Dustin Weedy case goes cold. Mona Weedy attempts to bring a wrongful death lawsuit against Tracy, but she can't afford the legal fees.
We were getting nowhere as we felt nothing was happening, no questions were being answered, and that was our personal attempt to try to get questions answered.
Special Agent Trent Villida never believes Tracy's claim of self-defense. In 2010, 9 years after the fatal shooting of Dustin Weedy, he persuades the new county attorney, Ben Smith, to reopen the investigation.
There was just a lot of things that jumped out at me, even in the first hour, that I really spent some time on it that just did not add up. My first inclination was, what are you not telling me about this? Where's the dog in this thing? There has got to be, something that's just impossible, an impossible obstacle or hurdle. So many questions that I'd go to sleep thinking about it. I'd wake up thinking about it.
They narrow down the list of potential conspirators. Police find no evidence that the dentist, Dr. Laspiza, is involved. The first husband, John Pittman, has an alibi. That leaves the second husband, Michael, and Trent's prime suspect, Tracy herself. With Ben on his side, Trent decides to take a chance. He engages Tracy in an email conversation.
Tracy was only going to communicate me if she thought I was on her side. I told her I was in charge of this multi-agency task force. We were going to discover the identity of the second attacker. Now, I didn't say I believe there was a second attacker, and I know in the back of her mind she knows there wasn't one. But as with any suspect who wants the police to believe them, I knew she would try to become cooperative.
As the emails go back and forth, Tracy starts to become more talkative, and she gets sloppy. Tracy brings up the notebook, the same notebook found in Dustin's car and kept a closely guarded secret by the police for 10 years. They know that anyone who mentions it may be complicit in Dustin's death.
She said, Michael Roberts had a premonition from God that Mona would find a notebook that would allow them to sue John Pittman.
Then, Tracy Richtor makes a colossal slip-up.
I just basically told her I was going to go talk to Michael Roberts and John Pittman and asked her if she would describe them for me. The most amazing thing happened. The one paragraph she used to describe John Pittman was basically paragraph 5 from Dustin's pink notebook, almost an exact quote. For me, that was a huge turning point. That was her saying, in her own words, what was in the notebook. I think that Tracy knew the longer she spoke with me, the worse it was starting to look for her. So I think she needed to end it somehow.
But Villada needs more. He needs proof that Tracy knew about the notebook at the time of Dustin's death. There's one witness that may be able to help, a close friend of Tracy's, Mary Higgins. If she knows about the notebook, she would have heard it directly from Tracy.
By all accounts, everything that I gathered from the report is that Mary was Tracy's closest friend. And it's not easy to get a best friend to tell on their friend knowing what the stakes are.
Trent had always told me that Mary Higgins, she knows something, and I had gotten to know her, met her a couple of times. I guarantee you, Trent, she knows nothing. And I go out there, she does not want to talk. She doesn't want to talk about it. She's past it, you'll never catch her. And then I said something, we think that we, found something that can link her to this. And she told me, you mean that stupid pink notebook? And I almost got sick when she said it. So Mary Higgins, huge. I mean, absolutely, tying her to that. Once we had Mary Higgins' testimony, that was the case.
Finally, 9.5 years after Dustin Wheaty's death, Tracy Richtor is charged with first-degree murder. At the trial, Mary testifies that Tracy told her about the notebook soon after the killing. The prosecution argues that Tracy convinced Dustin to write the diary and then shot him dead in an attempt to set up her ex-husband.
There's speculation that maybe she lured him up there, promising him sex for writing the notebook, or Dustin loved computers, so maybe she promised him a job with the company, or it could be as simple as she described John Pittman as a child molester and Dustin would help out the family by keeping Bert away from Dr. Pittman.
People, say, oh, she was gonna lose child support. She didn't care about child support, she cared about winning. She cared about beating Dr. Pittman. That's it. It's all it ever was.
On November 7th, 2011, the jury finds Tracy Richtor guilty of first-degree murder. She is sentenced to life in prison. Tracy still maintains her innocence, as does her family.
They say that I just can't accept. And I said, I can accept it if it's true, but I know it's not true. And I'm gonna fight, and I don't care. I'm never gonna give up to prove that she's innocent.
Look at the lives that have been wrapped up around her and the people who've gotten close to her and what's happened to them. Between me and Michael and the dentist and all these people whose lives have almost gotten destroyed by her. Is that coincidence? I mean, you know, that's a heck of a coincidence.
She got first-degree murder, life in prison, without parole. It's true, it's real, it happened. That part is done, it's over with.
I hope Mona knows how deeply sorry I am. Not only did I bring her son into the orbit of a monster, I defended that monster and I insulted her son after he was dead. And for that, I'm very, very sorry.
Tracy and Pauletta Burleson are prominent members of their community.
They seem to be in love with each other. I felt like my sister finally found someone that she loved and she could trust.
They run one of the oldest churches in Houston.
When you see them at church, they just look like they just really loved each other.
But before long, they will fall from grace.
They lied to the members.
They weren't in it to help people. They were in it to get the check.
A taste for money that will lead to the deadliest sin of all.
It seemed that everyone that knew Pauletta wanted her dead.
Love may be blind and marriage bliss, but divorce is murder. It's July of 1995. Family and friends are gathered to celebrate the wedding of Tracy Bernard Burleson and Pauletta Ross. Pauletta's sister, Joyce Bingham, is a bridesmaid.
She wore a beautiful dress. It wasn't white, of course. He had on a suit. It was really nice. It was nice.
Their love story begins a year earlier in the 5th Ward at the First New Mount Calvary Baptist Church. This church is one of the oldest in the 5th Ward, a section of Houston settled by African Americans after the Civil War.
Here in Houston and in the 5th Ward, in the South in general, churches play a big part in people's lives. It's a place where people gather, where they make their friends, where a lot of people make lifelong relationships. It's sort of the center or social hub of a lot of people's lives here.
Members of this congregation remember the atmosphere fondly.
When you go to First New Mount Calvary, you felt special, even if you didn't know nobody. You were one of us.
The preaching was good, the singing was good, everything was good, so I just really liked about it.
It wasn't just for the members, it was for the neighborhood. And that's what makes it a good place.
Tracy Burleson grows up in the church and dreams of one day becoming pastor. Pinky Johnson has been a member for nearly 50 years. She recalls Tracy as a boy.
I was a matron at the church and worked with the young children. And Tracy, he was in the choir and he played the drums and he just did good things.
Religion is a big part of Pauletta Ross's life as well. After her second divorce, she starts visiting First New Mount Calvary looking for emotional support. Her sister Joyce is already a member of the congregation.
I invited her to the church because I wanted to make sure she was all right, you know.
At the time, Tracy is just out of a relationship. He is 28 and she is 40. Despite their age difference, sparks fly almost immediately. Psychotherapist Stacy Kaiser and forensic psychologist Brian Russell think Tracy and Pauletta's feelings were in line with their common interests.
He's younger, he's charismatic, he's engaging, and it's a little bit of a lift for a woman to think, wow, I got this young guy who's up and coming and something that I'm interested in, which is the church.
She was admiring his aspirations to be a pastor in the church, and that felt good to him, that she believed in him and he could achieve that and everything.
I think that Tracy wanted someone who would look up to him, and Pauletta looked up to him.
Less than a year after they meet, Tracy and Pauletta are married.
They seemed to be in love with each other. I felt like my sister found someone that she loved and she could trust.
Both Pauletta and Tracy have children from previous unions. But Pauletta's kids are now grown, and Tracy's 12-year-old son, William, lives with his mother. The new couple decides to take in foster children and start a brand new family.
I'm the one that talked her into it, because I was telling her so many kids need help. You know, it's so many children that's looking for love, you know, and I felt like she had the love that she could give them.
The family moves into a nice home in a good neighborhood and settle into their lives together.
When you see them at church, they just look like they just really loved each other.
But to Tracy, one person is still missing in this perfect family portrait. His biological son, William, has sickle cell anemia, a rare blood disease that causes severe chronic pain and requires constant medical attention. Now that he's settled, Tracy is able to obtain legal custody of William. For the first few years of their marriage, Pauletta keeps her job working at a hospice, caring for the elderly. While Tracy works assisting different pastors around Houston.
They just serve God, you know. They believe in serving God. They believe in doing some of the things, the right things that God wanted them to do.
But Tracy's wishes to run a congregation haven't quite panned out.
You stay a little while, you move somewhere else.
Then, 12 years after his wedding, Tracy finally gets his dream job. In July of 2007, he is made pastor of the church where he and Pauletta met, the First New Mount Calvary Baptist Church. But he gets the job not because of what he knows, but who he knows. Members are getting ready to vote from a list of possible candidates when two deacons force them to choose Tracy. One of the deacons is his stepfather.
Tracy's dad and this other deacon brought Tracy in on a Sunday morning and put him in the pulpit and said he was the pastor. And that's when things started happening, just because it didn't happen the way it should have.
The deacons say they want someone they know in the pulpit. They had too many problems with pastors in the past. Church members feel betrayed.
They lied to the members. Why was we told we was gonna vote, and the time to vote, we couldn't vote. We didn't vote. The answer was, you don't like the way we do it, go somewhere else. The members didn't take that kindly at all.
Churchgoers like Gerderine Nobles hear Tracy has a bad record with the other churches he worked for.
He had been to like 5 or 6, and each one of them he got kicked out of, because the most of the pastors said that when he got over there, he tried to take over their church. And that's why he got kicked out of a lot of churches.
Within days of his appointment, the new pastor targets the members who aren't donating money to the church.
He started writing letters to some of the members, telling them they were no longer members.
Tracy also overhauls different departments to his liking.
He went from the way that we have been doing things to the way that he wanted to do things. He told the musician or something, if he couldn't play what he wanted him to play the way he wanted to play it, he needed to get off the piano. I mean, he wouldn't try to work it out with you. That's just the way he was.
Nobody wanted Tracy at that church. And when I say nobody, nobody.
Pauletta doesn't make many friends either.
She didn't go out and say hello to people, which is unusual for a pastor's wife. A pastor's wife is sort of the social director of a church, right?
She was just like her husband, cocky. Everything had to be done her way.
If the atmosphere weren't strained enough, a year later, Hurricane Ike tears through Houston, damaging the little church. But there's an even bigger storm brewing inside the congregation.
None of the members saw any of the money. I mean, none of them.
Pastor Tracy Burles and his wife Pauletta run the first new Mount Calvary Baptist Church in Houston's 5th Ward. The little church is damaged when Hurricane Ike tears through town in 2008. But the firestorm brewing among their members is about to make Ike pale in comparison. The first Sunday after the hurricane, congregation members are in need of comfort and guidance. Tracy proudly announces that New Mount Calvary qualifies for aid from a federal agency. The pastor promises the money will go toward fixing the run-down old building.
They got the grant or whatever you call it, and they got in front of the congregation telling us what they're going to do with the money and all this stuff. But none of the members saw any of the money.
In the following weeks, as the congregation waits for the grant money to come in, the word spreads that the couple's life at home is far from the nice Christian image they project in public. Stories also surface that only 3 years prior, the Burlesons were charged with abusing one of their foster children using an extension cord and a wooden board.
They weren't in it to help people. They weren't in it to help kids. They were in it to get the check. There was a lot of abuse, and it seemed like a pretty terrible home.
Tracy and Paulette had a regular relationship, and I've heard rumors that she was more dominant than he was, and they even heard rumors that she would whoop him, she would beat him.
Pauletta is also hard on Tracy's son, William. She mocks him for having sickle cell anemia and subjects him to punishments that verge on torture.
At one time, because he had done something that she didn't like, she had made him go out onto the driveway and kneel down without long pants on piles of rice under his knees to the point where he felt like he was going to pass out from the pain of that.
William eventually finds comfort in a friend named Tyone Palmer. She works at the hospital where William goes when he's sick. After a while, she becomes a kind of caregiver to him, and he even brings her around to his father's church. By 2009, the rocky home life with Pauletta prompts William to move out of his father's house and in with Tyone's family.
Tyone took him in. She allowed him to live with her. He helped take care of her children. So William looked at her almost like a mother figure.
Tyone offers William an escape from a dysfunctional household. She offers him mothering and nurturing and caretaking that he's not used to.
William's fragile, and I think he decides to live with Tyone because it's like a respite. It's a place where he feels safe and loved and cared about.
I think that Tyone put herself in a position to exercise profound influence over William. I think that a kid to whom she gave what she gave him in terms of filling the void in his life would probably be willing to do just about anything she asked to maintain her good graces.
Meanwhile, at the church, a movement to oust Tracy is gaining momentum amongst the parishioners. One of the allegations against the pastor is of particular interest to his wife.
The allegation was that he was having girlfriends at the church.
Pauletta is not pleased.
Oh, she verbally talked to him, told him, that if he didn't stop this or he didn't stop that, but he always managed to sneak around to do whatever he wanted to do.
Behind closed doors, Pauletta begs Tracy to quit cheating on her. But in public, she chooses to stand together with her husband.
I think Pauletta stayed with Tracy Burleson because she too enjoyed the power that they had together and being the pastor's wife and kind of being a pillar in their society. And she probably also loved Tracy to an extent.
They used each other. They saw advantages to being with each other for one reason or the other. And the fact that they had coupled up and were in it for themselves together seemed to work for them.
At the church, the long-awaited grant money never emerges. Members suspect that the Burlesons are using it to fund a whole new lifestyle.
Things started looking a little bit brighter for certain people at the church that held position. I mean, the wardrobe looked different, the vehicles looked different, and you know, that stands out. I mean,
The members can't forgive or forget.
all they wanted was just a fair chance to voice their opinion, and they never were given that a chance under Tracy. Never did. Never were.
Anytime the members ask to see the church's financial statements, they get the same answer. They don't exist.
Our finance reports are whatever I tell you, that's your finance report. They don't show you, they tell you. And you accept it or you don't accept it. For us, you know, they look at it.
But the unified front Tracy and Pauletta present to the public is about to crumble. Tired of his cheating ways, Pauletta leaves Tracy. Rumor has it she catches him with one of his mistresses in bed.
There's no way in the world that I would have went to a man's house and bickered with his wife. You don't go there at that place that they reside in.
This time, Pauletta packs her bags and leaves.
She was just tired. She was just tired of putting up with the foolishness, and he would date 2 or 3 different people.
I think Paulette left to try and bring him back to her and to tell him that he couldn't wander with these other women, that he needed to be home and he needed to be with her, because it didn't make her look good.
Back at the new Mount Calvary Church, Pauletta carries on with her facade of devoted pastor's wife.
In order for Pauletta to maintain her status as the pastor's wife, she had to help Tracy maintain his status as the pastor.
Here we have Pauletta, who is trying to do everything she can to make Tracy change. She yells at him, she threatens to leave him, and at the end of the day, none of that's going to matter because he is getting too much benefit out of being exactly the way he is. And the more a person can get away with doing bad things, the more likely they are to keep doing them.
But it's about to get worse. In April of 2010, Pauletta catches Tracy in another affair.
They had a meeting at church, and she had left to go pick up her prescription. Well, she said she was gonna go on home, but she didn't go back home. She went to the church, and lo and behold, he was having sex with this special girl.
Tracy is having sex in the church with a member who is mentally challenged.
She tore him up and her up, and she told her office up.
When Pauletta calls the deacons to denounce her husband's behavior, it adds fuel to the ongoing effort to get rid of Tracy. The news spreads like wildfire among parishioners.
One of the deacons called and told me about what had happened. I was shocked. I was like most members, I was really shocked.
The fact that Tracy would be in the church and get caught having sexual relations with a person with a cognitive disability says a lot about his character. Having sex with a person with a disability is not only immoral, but it's about needing a sense of power and control.
The fact that he's doing it in the church indicates a profound disrespect for the institution that he claims to represent and believe in. We've seen this behavior from an alarming number of prominent pastors over the years, where they have these positions that give them access to others' adulation, others' affection, others' money, and if they are decent people who are in it for the right reasons, then they will use all of those things to try to improve the lives of others. If they're sociopaths, then they'll use all of those things to try to improve their own lives. And it certainly seems like Tracy falls into the latter category.
The pressure builds on Tracy to quit, or at least acknowledge what he's done. When the pastor stands before the congregation only a few days after the blowout, many members expect some kind of apology. They are given none. But in a strange twist, the congregation learns that Pauletta just moved back into the family home with Tracy.
To be truthful, at that point, my respect level dropped tremendously.
Led by some of the deacons, a group of members decide to file a civil lawsuit to dismiss Tracy.
In March, Paulette Burleson caught him having sex inside the church.
But in the following days, with Tracy's back against the wall, the congregation members wake up to some horrible news.
First New Mount Calvary Baptist Church mysteriously burned to the ground.
I was at home, and my younger brother lives about 3 blocks from the church. So he called and said, "Hey, Charles," I said, "What, man?" He said, "Do you know your church is on fire?" "My church is on fire." I said, "Yeah."
Church members are devastated. Some of them openly accuse Tracy and Pauletta of arson, citing that the motive was to destroy evidence of where the grant money had gone.
By this point in Tracy's life, the facade that he has created has started to fragment, if not begin to fall apart. And so a person who's built their life upon a facade, when that starts to happen, will do almost anything to try to hold it together. Because if it does completely fall apart, then they'll feel as if there's nothing left to live for anyway. So it's almost as if they've got nothing left to lose, and they'll go to amazing extremes like arson and even beyond to try to keep that facade intact.
Let's not forget that Tracy has already gotten away with a lot of things he's done wrong. So of course he would think to himself, if I burn down the church, I'll get away with that too.
I think it was a cover-up. They did that to cover up all the stuff that they were doing that was not right at that church. And I'm still upset about it, that they would do something like that.
It was such a terrible feeling. I can't explain how I felt, because the church had been there so long, and I said, if you don't want something, you just leave, you know, to destroy God's house. Just leave, you know, if nobody wants you.
Let the church say amen again. Amen. I'm gonna wait till the train pass by, that we'll be able to hear.
But the next Sunday, in spite of an ongoing arson investigation, Tracy and Pauletta hold a service right outside the church.
And I'm gonna keep my eyes on God. Now I'm gonna keep it, because guess what? I can't do nothing without God.
Still traumatized by the fire, only a handful of parishioners shows up. But a local news crew is there, and Pauletta again takes the opportunity to play the part of the dedicated pastor's wife.
We take our focus off God. Believe me, world, we have nothing.
Let the church say amen again.
But in a matter of days, a bullet will blow the congregation apart.
It was just horrible to lose a life, then to lose where you worship at. I mean, where does it stop? I mean, somebody got to stop it.
One of the things that they found on the keys was blood, fresh blood.
A suspicious fire has destroyed the First New Mount Calvary Church, and an arson investigation is underway. Members suspect that Pastor Tracy Burles and his wife helped set the fire in order to destroy evidence of theft. But just days after the church burns to the ground, its problems are overshadowed by an even greater tragedy.
Somebody shot my wife. Can somebody say 911, please?
On May 18, 2010, a 911 call originating from the Burlesons' home is dispatched to police in Houston. Lead investigator Wayne Kuhlman is among the first police officers to arrive at the scene.
When we arrived out there, there was a female, a black female, laying face down in the driveway of the residence. Appeared to be bleeding from the head profusely.
Pauletta Burleson has been shot. The bullet pierced her head and neck, killing her instantly. Tracy is frantic. His car, parked further down in the driveway, the engine still running, the driver's door open, and the headlights still on.
We decided that the person that could walk us through what had happened the best, who had last seen her alive, was Tracy Burles, her husband.
If I rolled in her car.
In this videotaped statement shot right at the crime scene, Tracy gives his deposition to police.
Came outside, we were talking and everything. And I told her, I said, Paulette, I'm finna go down to the store. I said, I'm finna go down. And she said, okay. Well, I know when I came back, she was just slumped over in the chair.
Tracy says his wife was still breathing when he found her. He realized she was dead only after he made the 911 call.
I came right out there and called 911 because I told you I was trying to holler for somebody to help me. I'm supposed to be a man of God. Right. You know, I don't know, that's hate, man. That's hate. To shoot, you know, to do something like that, that's hate. I have to be a man of God, man. I have to be a man of God. Of course, I say that I have to forgive him, man, but that's hard.
The news burns through the neighborhood.
I got there, and all of this tape was out there. She was laying on that ground. They wouldn't let me see her.
It was just horrible to lose a life, then to lose where you worship at. I mean, where does it stop? I mean, somebody got to stop it.
Tracy tells the police he's not that surprised that his wife got shot.
It seemed that everyone that knew Pauletta, according to Tracy, with the exclusion of her biological children, wanted her dead.
My wife kept a .38 pistol in her car.
Tracy reveals that his wife had recently got herself a gun for protection, and that she'd been receiving threatening phone calls at the church from a mystery man.
Somebody, they called and was threatening us. She told me that they said, that ain't y'all church, and we're gonna kill y'all for taking our what was that, their grandfather church. That's what they said. And y'all, we want your ass.
Interviewing the neighbors, the police also learned that Tracy's infidelities gave Pauletta many rivals. One of them mentions a mysterious woman who has been spotted around the house lately.
What we started to learn was this was not your model Ozzie and Harriet family, that there was a lot of controversy in the marriage, not just between Pauletta Burleson and Tracy Burleson, but in their professional life where he was a pastor of the church.
The detectives are still investigating the crime scene when William, the pastor's son, shows up.
He came over, and one of the things that happened was he locked eyes with his father. It wasn't a look of compassion or a look of concern. It was more of just a serious 1,000-yard blank stare.
Sergeant Kuhlman interviews William and notices he's acting a bit strange. William says his friend Tyrone Palmer picked him up from a friend's and dropped him off at the crime scene. To corroborate William's statement, the investigators tracked Tyrone down.
Tyone lives in the neighborhood. She has William Fuller living with her. If there was something going on, she might or might not know who this person was in the neighborhood that the affair involved.
Tyone tells police she doesn't know anything, adding that she barely knows the pastor and his wife.
She didn't know much about Tracy, and there was no relationship, and her whole concern was with William.
Meanwhile, Kuhlman dispatches one of his men to look into Tracy's alibi. The pastors claim that he found his wife's body after picking up a snack at the corner store simply doesn't check out.
When the crime scene investigator drove from the store, we were able to determine that the store would have been closed at the time that Mr. Burleson claimed to have gone to the store and made purchases.
Back at the crime scene, the absence of any food or drink in Tracy's car also seems to contradict his deposition.
Mr. Burleson had claimed that upon returning home, he drove in the driveway, just got out of his car, went to her, started trying to see if she was okay, started making phone calls, trying to get help, and then he never got back inside his vehicle.
Once you actually saw how he reacted and the story that he told about how he got chips and he got something else to drink, and then the police saying that there's absolutely nothing in the car indicating he had any of that, it just didn't make sense.
But what police actually do find in the car are Tracy's car keys with fresh blood on them. The pastor suddenly appears like the most obvious suspect, but police don't have enough evidence to pin him down. Pauletta's funeral is a few days later. Hunter and Kuhlman show up to observe.
We went over there in the hopes of locating witnesses who may have some information, whether they were people that were named by Tracy Burleson or just people that walked up to us.
The detectives are certain the pastor is somehow responsible for his wife's death, and they just can't believe he's there preaching.
When I saw Tracy up there singing songs and just praising God and telling everyone to move on, that Pauletta would want them to, I was incensed. I was offended, if you will, almost.
Tracy has no concern for other people, but what he is a great showman. He has charisma, and he is doing his ultimate performance at the funeral.
It's another opportunity for him to play the martyr. As painful as this is for me personally, I'm standing up here today because I know what a loss it is for all of you, and I want to be here as your pastor to ease the burden of this on all of you.
At the end of the service, mourners are invited to say a few words in memory of Pauletta. Sergeant Kuhlman gets up and vows to catch the killer. He also makes it very clear who he thinks did it.
And then he turned on the pulpit and looked at Tracy and said that we're gonna get our man.
I want y'all to know we will do everything that we can to get to the person that took Pauletta.
Amen. To me, that was a big thing.
The whole congregation stands up and applauds Kuhlman, and he gets a standing ovation. And I think everyone in the congregation knew that Tracy had something to do with Pauletta's murder.
But police will soon learn that nothing is what it appears to be in this case, including the identity of the killer.
Fact is, she fooled both of us.
He wasn't nothing but the devil from hell, just on earth, here on earth.
Pauletta Burleson is found shot dead in the driveway of her home in Houston. Detectives suspect her husband, controversial pastor Tracy Burleson, is the murderer. Their homicide case is about to be blown wide open when a Crime Stoppers tip directs their attention towards someone else in the Burleson family. According to the caller, Tracy hired his son to kill Pauletta.
Someone called in and told the police that William Fuller had been offered some of the insurance proceeds, money that the life insurance would pay out on Paulette, that he would be given some of the money so that he could go to school or buy a car or something along those lines.
William's interaction with his father on the night of the murder suddenly seems more significant to Sergeant Kuhlman.
The strange look and his stoic walk through the scene of her murder and the eye contact that he made with his father, all of that started to make more sense.
The focus of Kuhlman's investigation now becomes trying to track down the friend to whom William allegedly confessed.
To find the friend that's alluded to by the Crime Stopper tipster it was paramount.
About a week into their search, detectives catch a major break. They identify and contact William's friend, who agrees to help them. They ask the friend to speak with William. Only this time, they'll record the phone conversation in the hopes he'll confess again. And he does.
He was just pouring his heart out.
According to William, his father never went to the store. He stayed at the crime scene to help William carry out a plan Tracy had concocted himself.
Tracy was going to get into an argument with Pauletta. During the argument, William was going to come from behind and shoot Pauletta.
William's story matches up with the evidence observed at the crime scene.
It corroborated the fact that she was shot in the back of the head while seated in a lawn chair sitting in her driveway. And it just gave a great explanation of all the dynamics and everything.
The rest of William's story also gives an explanation of how Pauletta's blood could have ended up on the pastor's car keys.
After she was killed and he had moved her body, he got in his car, got the door open and staged that part of the scene to corroborate his story that he had left, drove back home, pulled in the driveway to find his wife shot.
While there's still no hard evidence that Tracy is the mastermind behind the murder, William's confession points to a third accomplice. His caregiver, Tyone Palmer. In her first statement to police, Tyone said she barely knew William's parents. But according to William, Tyone teamed up with his father to convince him to kill Pauletta, going as far as providing him with the murder weapon and a plan to dispose of it.
William was going to call Tyone Palmer, who was going to come and pick him up and drive him across town to Tyone Palmer's cousin's house, where William would be able to clean up, change clothes, and establish an alibi, so to speak.
William says Tyone put the gun in a bag while he got ready. They tossed the gun in the bayou and doubled back to the Burlesons. William tells investigators that Tyone helped plan the murder and get rid of the gun, but she denies everything. Tyone later explains to prosecutors that while she helped her fragile, unpredictable friend get rid of the gun, she didn't find out about the murder until after it was done.
When he got in the car, she knew that there was something wrong. He was agitated, he was sweating, he was jittery, and she continued to ask him, you know, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong, and he wouldn't respond until finally he said, Pauletta's dead.
Kuhlman and Hunter are shocked when they learn Tyone lied to them. And it's not the only thing she's been lying about. On June 8th, when police have enough information to issue arrest warrants against them, they find the pastor in bed with Tyone.
If I had to grade Tyone Palmer on her ability to lie, she would be in like the top 3 of the best liars I ever met in my life.
Actually, that's sort of a joke Sergeant Kuhlman and I have between each other, because he says that she fooled me, but the fact is she fooled both of us.
But William has more surprises in store.
We learned from William that he also slept with Tyone.
William Fuller claims his father and his caregiver pressured him to murder his stepmother, Pauletta Burleson. But why would caregiver Tyone Palmer have anything to do with the victim? She told police she barely knew William's parents. After seeing Tyone's arrest on the news, one of her colleagues at the hospital contacts police with startling information. She's seen the threesome before in a photo in Tyone's locker.
Tyone began telling her coworker about some of the details of her relationship with Tracy and the fact that he was her fiance and they were going to get married at a particular time.
In fact, Tracy had a secret relationship with Tyone ever since William had brought her to church one Sunday.
There was a photograph that showed Ty and Tracy as the mother and father figures.
If you didn't know anything about the parties, you would look at that picture and think, well, that's a real nice looking family.
It was this happy family that existed sort of in a netherworld. So the fact that they all were smiling for the camera is a little surreal to me.
It must have been surreal to Pauletta as well. After all, she was the pastor's wife, desperately trying to cope with her husband's numerous mistresses. Among them, Tyone Palmer. Tyone's attorney, Anthony Osso, says Tracy manipulated his client into believing his marriage with Pauletta was headed to divorce.
A man tells you, I love you, I want to marry you, my marriage is not working out, my divorce papers are going to be signed anytime now, it's almost final, she's moved out of the house. Is that unusual to believe that? Well, she was unsuspecting. She had no reason to doubt him.
But in reality, Pauletta was still playing the part of pastor's wife and fiercely supported her husband's struggle to keep his position in the church.
Tracy was on thin ice. He was basically on probation at the church.
Despite, what was going on behind the scenes in his life, that's not how he portrayed himself to my client.
But after Tracy's last sexual misconduct in the church, Pauletta decided she had had enough and seemed ready to hang Tracy out to dry.
Tracy had no other source of income. Everything that he did was through that church. That was his position of power.
Police learned that during the same period, Tyone texted her colleague from the hospital, saying she was desperately looking for a gun.
She showed us text messages between Tyone and herself, asking her to get a gun for her. She would get a reply, what kind of gun? Tyone, I don't care, whatever would get the job done.
This new evidence reinforces William's story that Tyone provided him with the gun to kill Pauletta. But Tyone's defense attorney, Anthony Osso, argues William is no better than his father, an erratic liar whose contempt for Pauletta drove him to take her life.
He would kill her regardless of whether Tyone Palmer ever entered his life. This was not a pre-planned act. It had been brewing, building up, and he was capable of snapping at any time.
William certainly had reasons to hate Pauletta. As a teenager, he'd chosen to leave home because she mistreated him. But why would he now involve Tyone, the Good Samaritan who had gone out of her way to care for him.
She had given him shelter from Paulette and had given him a place to live and had made him part of her family.
But the truth is far stranger. In fact, William did not see Tyone as a mother figure. Not anymore.
We learned that William, and it came as a very shock to us, that he also slept with Tyone.
William loved Tyone so much, he even had a tattoo of her lips on his neck.
He wanted a reminder of their sexual relationship, that no matter where he was or what he was doing, every time he looked in the mirror or past a window, he would see this reflection of Ty's lips on his neck.
I think that William is in love with Tyone, but I don't know if he's in love with her as a woman or more of a mother figure. What I see with him is that he wants to be close to her. He wants to please her. He wants to make her happy at whatever cost.
It wouldn't be the first time that a young person conflated maternal love and sexual love. Freud talked about it with the whole Oedipus complex.
As the case moves to court, prosecutors are now dealing with a clear-cut love triangle.
Dad over here, son over here? What a shocker.
Tyone's attorney says William preyed on Tyone's feelings to get her to sleep with him by telling her his father never loved her.
A lot of people will look at this and say she should have never slept with him. I think she was so vulnerable, she didn't know what to believe anymore.
But when confronted with Tyone's version of events on the witness stand, William explodes.
We actually watched William be drug out of court in a chokehold in front of the jurors.
Tracy also contradicts his son's testimony, denying that he hired William to kill Pauletta.
There should have been something, whether it's a canceled check or a watch or, a gift certificate or something for killing Paulette, but there was just nothing other than William's own word.
Tracy's attorney, Lane Lindsay, presents the jury with an interesting theory. Not only did William want Pauletta dead, he wanted his father to take the blame for her murder. With Tracy behind bars, William could have Tyone to himself.
Here's this woman who has this close friendship with him, and then to have his dad, Tracy, develop a sexual relationship with that person, I think probably really deeply hurt William.
But William denies these allegations and testifies that his father had been asking him to kill Pauletta for months. It was only when Tyone entered the picture that he finally agreed to do it.
Now that Tyone was asking, this woman who'd shown such kindness to him and taken him in and given him the home he never had, when she asked him, that's when he ultimately went ahead with the plan.
The power of love and sex is often stronger than the power of force. Tyone had a level of sway over William that went beyond what Tracy had, and that it was probably born of positive feelings of love, perhaps fake feelings of love that she set up in him in order to manipulate him.
I don't see her that way. I think that Tracy was a puppet master and Tyone was his puppet. Being that he doesn't really have true emotions for people, it wouldn't have bothered him if Tyone slept with his son. And so I think it's completely possible that he told her to lure his son in physically and sexually and then reward him with sex after he killed his stepmother.
Tracy had more than one motive for wanting Pauletta dead. After his last sexual misconduct, Tracy suspected that Pauletta was ready to betray him and collaborate with those who wanted him out. Tracy also stood to collect on Pauletta's life insurance policy. And most importantly, Tracy feared that Pauletta could reveal to arson investigators that the pastor himself set fire to the church to destroy financial records and any evidence of what really happened to the grant money.
We learned that William had learned from his father that he and Pauletta Burleson had been involved with the fire at the church. When the church burned down, all of those records went with it. It was gone. It was just a total loss.
By the end, it's clear all three parties are guilty. Tyone Palmer gets 10 years for tampering with evidence and 7 years for murder. William Fuller gets 20 years for murder. And Tracy Burleson gets a life sentence without parole for capital murder. He is appealing his conviction.
Tracy will probably never get what he deserves. He got a life sentence. I mean, look what his wife got.
I really think they should have given him the death penalty. He needs to rest. And he needs to let the other people rest.
He wasn't nothing but the devil from hell, on earth, here on earth, walking, breathing, God's good air. You know, he was just the devil.
You know, if I had anything to ask Tracy, I would ask him, you know, is this, why would you put your son involved in something like this? I mean, go get somebody else.
The First New Mount Calvary Baptist Church is still in tatters. Arson investigators could never determine what caused the fire. The members are confident they will one day rebuild and worship there, as they did before Tracy Burleson ever became their pastor.
That church was a big part of their history. It was a big part of their lives. And they lost all that behind this individual and his actions and his activities. I hope that they're able to pick everything up and move on.